them to. Hello there, and welcome to another edition of our exciting and impactful program titled Aligning Education Reforms with National Development. This is Amagate Radio Communications, and I am your host. I'm right here once again. My name is Daniel Adebi, and I'm so delighted to have you join us as we move further into this important conversation about the future of education and its vital connection to the growth and prosperity of nations. Last week, we introduced the topic and our focus for this quarter, which is aligning education reforms with national development. And last week we explored the critical needs for countries, especially those in Africa and other developing regions, to align educational reforms with their national development goals. We asked questions, critical questions, like what kind of education produces problem solvers, innovators, and leaders, and how can our curriculum reflect the realities of today's world and also the future we hope to build. Last week we defined the key terms. We talked about what education reforms are and what national development is. We stated that education reforms refer to deliberate and systemic changes in policies, structures, curriculum, teaching methods, governance, and funding models for educational systems. And we also said that these reforms are initiated in order for them to improve the quality, the relevance, accessibility, and also equity of education. In general, education reforms aim to make education more responsive to societal needs, more responsive to labor market demands, technological advancement, and also global trends. We also define national development as the process of improving the economic well-being, quality of life, security, and overall progress of a country's populace. Basically, it encompasses various aspects such as industrialization, infrastructure growth, poverty alleviation or poverty reduction, access to quality healthcare, human capital development, political stability, and the likes. So the conclusion last week was that education plays a critical and a central role in achieving all these things. And for education, for all these things to be achieved, there is need to build a skilled, informed, and empowered citizenry. And last week we also highlighted some facts about developed countries and the educational systems. We looked at high literacy rate, compulsory education, government investment, well-trained teachers, access to technology, emphasis on equity and inclusion. We looked at higher education success, and we also looked at focus on innovation and research. We also looked at support services, how developed countries also provide support services in form of funding, form of counseling for students, funding opportunities, loans, and the rest, just to encourage their citizens to be able to be educated, basically. And we also looked at the need for education reforms, and we gave some examples of some countries like Finland, Rwanda, and Singapore. We also looked at how Finland has become a global leader in education success, how they reformed, their reforms focus on equality, reforms focus on teacher autonomy, and also personalized learning. They provided a system where students can perform very well academically and also acquire and develop critical skills for them to thrive in the world where they find themselves in, basically. We also looked at Rwanda. We looked at how Rwanda, just coming from a genocide that happened in 1994, how in order for them to rebuild and restructure their economy, structure and rebuild their country, they had to undertake some significant education reforms, which was part of their national rebuilding efforts. So they shifted their focus to invest heavily in teacher training and also integrate ICT, information communications technology, in education. And we also looked at Singapore, how Singapore's education reforms focused on transforming the system into one that cultivates innovation and global competitiveness. And that's why even today Singapore ranks very high, amongst the nations of the world when it comes to education, competitive educational system. They focus strongly on science, technology, mathematics, engineering, which we call STEM. They also focus on vocational education, and also they provide a system for lifelong learning. So all these, accumulated in giving Singapore the right to be called a world-class, a country that has a world-class developed educational system, and that with that they were able to achieve their national development goals. All these were part of the things we talked about, and last week I promised us that we would take a deep dive and look more intentionally and more intensely as we bring out more case studies from countries that implemented some education reforms and the various results that it yielded them. So in this program today, like I said, our topic for today, the topic we'll be exploring for today is the role of education in driving national development. The role of education in driving national development. So in this program today, we'll turn the spotlight on the critical imperative, which is reimagining education as a powerful engine for national growth and transformations. So for nations across Africa and other developing regions, the question is not about whether reform is needed. It is about how urgently we must act to ensure that education serves as a strategic tool for nation building. So in the program today, we'll be unpacking essential questions like what kind of education nurtures quality citizens, critical thinkers, problem solvers, and also visionary leaders, and how can our learning systems be more responsive, to respond to the dynamic realities of the 21st century and also prepare us for a future that we must shape today. We have to prepare for a future that we want tomorrow. That preparation has to start from today. So today's conversation is about building systems that connect learning with innovation, connect learning with productivity, and also sustainable development. We'll also be looking at the need for countries to shape educational policies that prioritize equity, relevance, and global competitiveness. So at the heart of it all, basically, it's a simple truth. No country can rise beyond the quality and vision of its educational system. That's the simple truth. No country can rise beyond the quality and vision of its educational system. So if we are serious about economic prosperity, if we are serious about technological advancement, if we are serious about societal well-being, if we are serious about achieving our national development goals, then we must make education our most intentional investment and priority. So as a means of introduction, we have to ask this question: why is education important? Education is important because it is the cornerstone of national development, and it serves as a catalyst and foundation for economic prosperity, a foundation for social cohesion, foundation for technological advancement, and also political stability. I would want to state a quote by a man called John Dewey. John Dewey says, "Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. And the quality of life is dependent on the quality of education." So this basically highlights the transformative power of education in shaping individuals and society. Education is defined as the systematic process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, and competencies needed for personal and social growth. Education encompasses formal and non-formal forms of learning that equip individuals with the ability to think critically, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. I want to, highlight the part where I mentioned equipping. Education is a tool, a necessary tool that equips and empowers people to participate effectively in the nation building process, in the economic development building process, in achieving political stability, in improving the quality of the lives of its citizens. Education is necessary for impact, and because education is necessary for impact, education is the process of equipping individuals and equipping citizens for impact. National development, on the other hand, it's all about a comprehensive advancement of a country across board in all areas, whether economic, social, political, technological. It is very, very necessary. It's also about improving the standard of living and overall progress of a country. So education actually plays a very critical role in achieving sustainable economic growth, in achieving enhanced infrastructure, effective governance, and also an educated populace. Like I said, educated populace that is capable of driving innovation and stability. So according to UNESCO, the United Nations Economic, Scientific, Cultural Organization, according to UNESCO, each additional year of schooling increases a person's income up by 10%, GDP by an average of 0.37% annually. So this statistics actually shows the direct link between education and national development. That the more people are educated and the more they get increase in their income, the more their income increases. The increase in their income actually has an effect on the overall GDP of the nation, and that basically means that as a person is being empowered financially because he or she was educated, that financial empowerment now equips the individual to be able to make positive contributions in his or her society, and those little contributions has an overall ripple effect, a cumulative ripple effect on the GDP, the gross domestic product of a country. So it might start with a single individual, but it has an overall effect on a country. So education is actually very, very important, because when citizens lack access to quality education, they struggle to make informed decisions, and they also become an economic burden, even a political burden and a societal burden to a nation, and it makes them not to be able to contribute effectively to the society. And also, like we all know, ignorance fosters poverty, ignorance fosters corruption, ignorance fosters social unrest, and it also fosters political, inconsistency and political irresponsibility among citizens. And all these things have negative effect. It slows a country down from achieving their overall national development goals. The reason why I'm basically saying all this is just for us to understand the critical connection between education and national development, because a country or a nation that neglects education is at risk of stagnancy, is at risk of political instability, and is at risk of economic decline. And all these things are prevalent, are things we can commonly see in underdeveloped or developing nations. And this is because these countries are still not investing. They are still not making critical and transformative steps, or important or necessary steps in transforming the educational system, basically. So nations that prioritize education, they create a skilled and knowledgeable workforce, and equipping these individuals with the tools that they need to drive innovation, drive productivity, and also economic expansion. Education fosters critical thinking. Education fosters problem solving. Education fosters adaptability, and all these are necessary in the 21st century because we are domiciled currently and presently in an ever-changing global landscape, and people need to be educated from time to time in order for them to be equipped with the requisite skills and the requisite abilities that will make them to be effective even in this ever-changing global landscape. So countries, when we look at historically, there are some countries that are heavily invested in education, and they have reaped the benefit of this investment that has led to overall transformation of their nation and countries. There are even some countries that came back from war, that experienced some war, from post-war economic recoveries to technological revolutions. Education has played a crucial role in shaping modern economics and society. Countries like Germany, Finland, South Korea, and Singapore, they leverage on education for national progress. And their leverage on education for national progress has served as a testament to the transformative power of education. So today's program will basically be taking a deeper dive into the role of national development, and we'll be highlighting and spotlighting some countries and the various reforms that they explored, the various steps they took. We're looking at models from Europe and countries in Europe, and also some countries in Asia. I'll be looking at the various things they did and what they are currently exploring, what they're currently doing, and how it is paying up for them. So one of the most significant ways that education contributes to national development is through economic growth. A well-educated workforce leads to increased productivity and innovation. So we'll be looking at countries such as Germany, countries such as Finland, South Korea, and Singapore, which are in Asia. Germany and Finland is in Europe. South Korea and Singapore is in Asia. We were looking at how they have demonstrated strategic investment in education and how this can lead to a robust economic development, which they are currently enjoying, or which is their current reality. So first of all, we'd like to see a country called Germany. We'll be looking at economic growth and innovation, how Germany, we're taking a case study of Germany. So one of the things that Germany did, Germany is one of the countries with the best, one of the most competitive educational systems in the world. And in fact, we have a couple of number of people that go to Germany for their masters or their PhD, and they go on scholarships, and some of them go, because education in Germany is funded by the government. At least all public educational institutions are funded by the government, and if you apply, or if so even Nigerians or other people from other African countries are beneficiaries of these education system. So one of the beautiful things that Germany also did in the past was, them placing a strong emphasis on technical education. So Germany does not just focus on the contemporary educational system, but they also focus on vocational training, mix of vocational training and technical education, and this is called the dual educational systems. So it doesn't just afford students, the educational system doesn't just afford students with the opportunity for classroom learning or classroom experience, but it also gives them a more practical and vocational experience where students are equipped with hands-on industrial experience. And this is why Germany is part of the most industrialized countries or nations in the world. It's this dual education system that combines classroom learning with hands-on industrial experience has significantly contributed to Germany's status as being an economic powerhouse. And when you talk about fields such as engineering, manufacturing, and technology, Germany is one of the top countries in those. You can't even talk about engineering or manufacturing, without talking about Germany. I mean, there are many automobile companies that are owned by Germany, that originated from Germany, and also other inventions that came out of Germany. This is because of the dual educational system, classroom learning, and hands-on industrial and vocational experience. So this dual education system has led to youth empowerment and has reduced the unemployment rate drastically to at about 5.7%. So the unemployment rate in Germany is as low as 5.7%, and this 5.7% is one of the lowest in Europe. And this is according to Eurostat 2023. So it's discovered that the dual system of education in Germany has led to the drastic reduction of the unemployment rate in Germany to 5.7%. And in fact, 90%, it is found that 90% of German students in vocational education secure employment within 6 months of graduation. So there is a high tendency that when people go to these vocational, schools or pass through the vocational education system, they don't struggle for jobs, they get jobs. And this is one of the beautiful things about this dual education system. So Germany also has a well-developed, system, where companies play a leading role. There is a partnership. Last week we talked about the public-private, partnership. Stakeholders from the public sector and the private sector in Germany, they actually contribute. They partner. For example, I'm talking about the private sector now. They participate in these development training programs. So some of these programs, some of this vocational education is being funded by private, by the private sector, by companies, and by private people. They fund all these things. They train people in production. They offer apprenticeship contract, and this, some of this company, if we look at everything, it's private sector covers 70% of the cost. And this is because they also benefit, because after they train people, they can now integrate these people into their companies and now integrate this talent into their companies, and these people can now contribute effectively within their private institutions or within their companies. And one of the things that the government also does is that since private individuals or companies are funding all these trainings, the government has also reduced their taxes. It has reduced taxes and various subsidies from the state or from the nation, and that is because of the huge involvement of the private sector. And also when we look at another country like South Korea, can also see South Korea's rapid transformation from being a war-torn country. In the 1950s, South Korea experienced war, but fast forward to today, they are now a global technological leader, a global technology leader. Remember the war between South Korea and North Korea in 1950s, and how it impacted the nation negatively at that time. But when you look at South Korea today, when when we talk about STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we can see that the government prioritize heavily in this area. They provide effective education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and which makes them a force to reckon with as per science, as per technology, engineering, and mathematics. And South Korea is a rapidly developing country. It's a developed country, but they are still developing because of their huge emphasis in STEM education. And also we can also see public-private sector partnership. The private sector educational funds out some of all these trainings, and people are empowered. South Korea also invests over 5.5 of its GDP in education, and as of 2023, 99% of South Koreans between the age of 25 to 34 have completed upper secondary education. That shows that between 99% of South Korean adults, as at 2023, it was found out that about 99% of South Korean adults between the age of 25 to 34 have completed upper secondary education. And imagine this 99% of South Korean adults being able to also function and participate effectively within the nation. And imagine the effect they'll be the impact they'll be having on their nation, and how fast and how quick they'll be able to achieve their national development goals. And also South Korea also ranks first in the world in terms of innovation. According to Bloomberg Innovation Index in 2024, it's found out that South Korea ranks first in the world when it comes to innovation, and all thanks to its educated workforce. Also, looking at social development and equity. Social development and equity is also one of the effects of education reforms. So education also plays a crucial role in fostering social development and equity. Education reduces the rate of poverty, promotes gender equality, and also strengthens democratic value. Last week we talked about a country called Finland, and one of the things that the education system of Finland has been able to achieve is equity, their equity-driven approach to education. And this equity-driven approach to education ensures equal opportunities for all students, regardless of socio-economic backgrounds. They have been able to create a system that affords everybody, irrespective of their background or irrespective of their gender, irrespective of how much they have in their bank account, everybody has equal access and opportunity to education. And with this, Finland has been able to achieve one of the highest literacy rates in the world, and especially in Europe. They've been able to achieve a high literacy rate, and that has also translated to them having to be able to have citizens with high quality of life, and citizens that are able to contribute meaningfully within the nation, in their economy. So it is also discovered that Finland also spends more than 6% of its gross domestic product on education, and in fact Finland boasts of almost 100% literacy rates, and Finland ranks among the top 5 countries in the world in the World Happiness Index. When you look at happy countries, that is because Finland has a 100% literacy rate, and people are able to contribute, and the economy is doing well. People have people have access to education, they're educated, and they can integrate meaningfully and affect their societies positively. and that creates a happy environment. So it boosts of 100% literacy. Another country is Japan. Japan also instills discipline, teamwork, and strong work ethic from an early age. Japan emphasizes on moral education, not just the conventional education, but moral education and social responsibility, social values. And this has made them have citizens or grow people or have young people that have a heart for their nation, people that feel they are responsible for the development of their nation. That made them have citizens who can engage meaningfully within the society and who can bring their skills to the table and also affect various aspects of their nation. And when we look at human capital development, how has education reforms, how has education been able to transform human capital development? So we'll look at country like Singapore. Singapore recognizes the importance of a knowledge-based economy, and Singapore, in doing that, Singapore has been able to continuously reform its education system to align with global trends. And in aligning with global trends, to continuously reform education, they've been able to come up with a system called the Skills Future Initiative. And this Skills Future Initiative actually promotes lifelong learning for their citizens. Now, citizens can learn for life as long as they want. They can improve their skills continuously, so they have citizens that are continuously learning, and this makes them to also be able to meet up with global trends and also position their country, which is Singapore, as a leading global technological and financial hub. It is growing and always transforming and aligning with global trends. So in fact, the Skills Future Initiative also provides credit to every citizen, credit up to $500 for every citizens above 25 years, and this money is provided for citizens for them to continually upskill, for them to learn skills, and that is why, according to World Bank in the year 2022, it was discovered that Singapore ranks number 1 globally in the human capital index. And also, when we look at China has also made remarkable progress by focusing on higher education and also research. China is at the forefront of scientific innovation. They've been able to produce groundbreaking research in areas such as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and also space exploration. And all these fundings that the Chinese government has invested into the educational system has made them to also rise as a global economic power, because all these fundings has been able to to fund scientific innovations and also all researches in areas like I mentioned, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and also space exploration. So it is also stated that by 2023, China, had 44 million tertiary students, in tertiary institutions, 44 million tertiary level students, and that is actually the largest in the world. And China spends about 3% of its GDP on research and development. They also fund, AI. They also fund space tech exploration and also biotechnology. Education reforms, also has a ripple effect on political stability and governance. Education contributes to political stability by fostering informed and responsible citizens. A well-educated populace is more likely to engage, in democratic processes and also uphold the rule of law and resist corruption. So, for example, a country like Norway has a strong emphasis on civic education and democratic values, and this has make them achieve a high level of voter participation. Which also leads to social trust and stable governance. So Norway has a voter turnout of about 80%, almost 80%, about 78%, and this is attributed to strong civic education. A country like India has also leveraged education to promote national unity and political awareness amongst its diverse populace. The Right to Education Act in 2009, which was enacted in India, mandates free and compulsory education for children between the ages of 6 to 14. The Right to Education Act, which was enacted in 2009 in India, mandates free and compulsory education for children aged 6 to 14. So children between the age of 6 to 14, it is mandated that they have access to free and compulsory education. And even in India today, over 250 million students are currently enrolled in schools across India, and it has created awareness and participation in all aspects of their economy and also in their democratic processes. Also, technological education reforms has also led to technological advancements and digital transformation. Modern educational systems are key drivers of technological advancement and digital transformation. It enables countries to compete in the global knowledge economy. So when we look at a country like Estonia is a country that has been able to successfully integrate digital education at all levels, and it is considered as one of the most technological advanced countries in Europe. And also, in fact, in Estonia, there's something called the e-Estonia initiative, which has made them to achieve a digital society where citizens can, access government services, access education, access business tools online, access healthcare services, access security services. Basically, they've been able to upload or put their government online, so the government is actually accessible online. And when you look at this, you will say, okay, how were they able to achieve this? That is also because as far as 2012, Estonia introduced coding in primary school. So from students, from pupils in primary school, they began teaching them how to code. And these people, when they matured and they increased in learning, they were able to come up with various inventions, that various platforms that that has afforded the government to be able to provide its services online. And in Estonia today, about even over 99%, almost 100% of public services are now accessible online. And this has become a model for e-governance globally. And we also look at other countries such as South Korea. South Korea has also been able to focus on digital literacy and technology-based education. South Korea today has also become a leader in artificial intelligence, in robotics and telecommunications. And according to ITU in 2023, South Korea has ranked among the top 5 countries in ICT development. So all these areas are actually, testament on all these case studies from these countries. Actually a testament to the fact that when nations, when they implement education reforms, it leads to qualitative improvement in their economy and in all aspects of their economy, basically. So it is very, very important for countries, for nations, especially developing nations in Africa and even across Europe and other Asian countries. It is necessary for them to implement, new reforms that are targeted at, improving the lives of their people, and also improving the economy, the political stability, their healthcare, their every aspect of their economy, basically. So nations need to invest. Like I said when I was introducing this topic, I mentioned something that education is not just preparation for life, it is life itself. And when the moment countries and leaders, begin to take education seriously, that is then that we begin to take life seriously. So in conclusion, I would like to stop here, and next week would also be taking a deeper dive as we also explore other case studies. But I would like to leave us with a conclusion with a quote by a great man, Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And in fact, there is nothing as precious as an educated mind. So education is the backbone of national development, and countries that prioritize education, they do not only foster economic growth, but also ensure social stability, ensure innovation, technological advancement, political stability, and improved public health. These success stories that we've looked at from countries like Germany, Finland, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, China, Norway, Estonia, they illustrate that strategic investment in education yields long-term benefits for countries. So for developing nations, we like to encourage them to emulate these models by investing in quality education, vocational training, and lifelong learning programs that will pave the way for sustainable national developments. So countries and nations, in fact, that leaders should not only be focused about today, but also be conscious about the future of the nation, where they envision the nation to be. And in envisioning, one of the things they need to put in place is to put structures, especially in its education system, to empower and equip citizens with the requisite skills that will make them to be able to contribute in the society. So this brings us to the ending of today's edition. Thank you for staying with us. This is Amogate Radio Communications, and we have just looked at the role of education in driving national development. So please do well to join us next week, same platform here on YouTube, every Thursday, 5 p.m. West African time and 12 noon Eastern time. We look forward to having you same time next week. So please do well to send in your questions, your contributions across our social media platforms at Amogate. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I would be glad to receive your questions and your contribution. So thank you so much for joining us, and do have a beautiful day ahead. Bye for now.